Hey everyone, welcome back. It is Icon. Thank you so much for checking out another episode of Esports Analysis. Today, we are on board with Formal as he and the Chicago Huntsmen go to battle against the Los Angeles Guerrillas. So I was actually pretty excited to see Chicago scrim LAG just because the way that LAG has been performing in the last couple events that they've been in, they've been playing really well. Now, I will say that in Hardpoint, Chicago doesn't seem to struggle with these up-and-coming teams too much. It's really the dominations and the search and destroys. It's really those game modes where they tend to struggle a little bit. But just kind of as a precursor here, if you didn't watch this scrim, the map count overall was 5-0 Chicago, so they won every single hardpoint. So even the smaller ones like the Ramazas that Chicago doesn't really do that well on, they ended up winning those. And then also Formal had a really good day. So he ended up dropping high 30s in multiple maps. So really nice job out of him. And that's why I decided to do this breakdown from his point of view. One thing that I'll say real quick as we're about to rotate over to P2 is that Chicago did a really nice job of getting time inside of P1 since they didn't have spawns for P2, right? So if they focus on that first hill of really trying to flip spawns and they're unsuccessful, then they could really be in the hole 60, 70, 80 points if they're not able to get into P2, and we all know how hard this specific hill is to break. With that being said, they are pushing through the bottom, right? So as you're in P1, when it's coming to an end, if you get pushed out, then essentially you just have to win one more team battle and you're able to overtake those spawns. Let's draw that on the map real quick before we get back into it and listen in. But if you have control of P1, we saw Formal just push out over here towards tires. They were able to get kills. He did end up dying by this white van, but his SMGs were able to trade that out. And then once you get there, that's going to take LAG. That's going to spawn them up here towards the top side of the map. So you will have to get another set of team kills as LAG is crossing back. But as soon as you make that happen, once you get control of the top, that's going to spawn them out even further. And then you're going to be able to get the rest of the time inside of P2. So really nice job of them of getting time inside of P1 just in case they weren't able to flip for P2. Then once they got that flip for P2, I would imagine that this lead is going to balloon quite a bit. But without further ado, I love being able to listen in to the team comms in these scrims. So let's go ahead, let's listen in. I'll still break down where I see it's most important, but let's go ahead, listen in Chicago strategy here.
This thing aims in hella weird.
Yo, first, mid map, Vivid.
I'm one shot, he killed me bottom out. You get
Vivid's in
Yo,
map.
Bottom out dead.
AC hop, good win.
One
That's
more,
good.
sorry.
That's
Yes, get out green.
Pocket one shot, nice.
Trying to need time, I'm needing time.
Going
Don't.
L, I mean, last guy's
I'm trying to go L.
What's the time?
He has a trophy on time.
Trophy on
Last guy on hill.
I'm staying down for some.
I'm going green.
I'm green pillar here now,
Oh,
guys.
top out. I got him dead.
I'm green behind me,
I'm one shot.
I'll get time. Oh, he's green.
One green, not dead. They got top green.
I
behind me.
have, yo, Matt, I have an AR top out.
Up third black.
Alright, I'm playing green.
Yeah,
Hang on.
I'm looking bottom tickets.
Got two.
There you go. I'm about to get time.
I'll grab it. You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Drop him back there, shove him back there, yeah.
Front hill.
Going out,
One
going out.
What's that for?
Front hill, dead.
It's one out, guys.
Are you sure?
One did, for
Another
sure.
guy middle.
Yo, top
I have this.
He's gonna be top out on you, I think.
Nothing spawned out, Alex.
Yeah, you're good.
Careful.
Yeah, one's mid out, yeah, one's one out. One's top three, jumping down on hill.
So I will say, as we're going through P3 here, it's about to rotate to P4, even though from that P3, 4, and 5 rotation, you do want to have those back yellow spawns. If you don't have them, it's not the end of the world because there's only a couple of ways that LAG can actually get out of that back spawn. So if you get pushed up and you're inside of P3 and you have the cuts on the top and the bottom part of the map, then it's really not that hard to get a bunch of time inside of P3 as you saw Chicago do right now. So it's just popped inside of P4 and it's 114 to 38. It doesn't end up being this lopsided, but even though they didn't flip for spawns, it's not the end of the world because if you can capitalize in P1, capitalize in P3, stuff like that, then things are probably going to go your way, at least for the first set of rotations. Also, last thing that I'll go ahead and I want to break down right here because I think LAG did a really nice job there. So they're spawning back here in the back. And as they pushed into P4, they did have control of P4, but they also had somebody pushed up to top AC, right? Once you're up here, then essentially what that does is that takes Chicago spawns and it puts them back even a little bit further. So once you get top AC, that's going to lock down the bottom part of the map. That's going to put Chicago in this spawn up here. And now, especially if that person inside of P1 has an AR, you can really do damage as those players try to work back towards being inside of P4. Now, we just saw what Formal did. He actually spawned a little bit down further, which is probably because that person wasn't quite set up in top AC yet. But he just pushed in and he was able to get that kill. As soon as he got that kill, he pushed forward into top L, and that's where he's at right now. So just want to make sure that we were pointing out that strategy, because basically every team does it, and it can be really successful if you do it the right way. Let's go ahead and listen back in.
I got one.
Nice, get up.
Bottom L, dead.
Try to get that 10. That's good.
All dead, well
That's
dead.
That's him.
I'm pre-aiming gate right now.
Bottom fifth, bottom fifth, GT. Yeah, they're spawning campers, spawning campers, guys.
Blue van dead. Other one top hill.
I think middle.
Top
Blue
building
van again,
dead.
blue van again.
Third
Wait
dead.
for teammates. Nice.
I'm playing for L, I'm playing for L.
Blue van on me, blue. Oh,
Blue van
what?
dead.
He's
I'm
fucking
top.
he's Shack
Top
below you
out,
set.
busted.
Shack below you set. Good win.
Jump set.
Nice one all the way out.
Up.
We should have helped.
All the way out?
Yeah.
Oh, shit, okay.
We're good. I'm going left.
Over here. Yeah, go left.
Top L, top L, top L.
Just sat them right here.
Blue van, one shot. One shot.
I'm playing for L, guys.
Coming top L. Yeah, I'm coming top L.
Okay.
Spotted.
Top P5.
One top hill.
I don't see top
Oh,
L.
you just made me
Graffiti,
look at my
graffiti,
name.
vivid dead.
Nice.
Top
Right,
P5,
right.
one shot.
Heaven
Three
dead.
dead.
Jump,
Responding
nice.
right.
Five dead, five dead.
Responding
One shot,
right.
one shot right in front of you, Dill. Good job. Just running out. Back up.
I'm
Yeah,
running
yeah.
the green away.
I'm going.
I'm backing up.
Press down,
I'm
leave.
Only
I
top
just have
L
both.
already. Dead. I'm
So
one shot.
right there,
Top
all
L.
it took was one team kill, and they got 2 kills bottom part of the map. They got 2 kills by SMG's top side of the map, and as soon as that happened, they got control of P5. That spawned LAG out, which it's not the end of the world, right? If you're LAG, it's not all for none, because you are going to get those spawns back for P2. So the other flip side of that is that for Chicago, they got the majority of the time in P1 first set of rotations. They didn't have spawns for P2. They were able to flip out. When it came to P3, they were basically able to spawn trap LAG back in that back P5 spawn. Then as it went to P5, they didn't have initial spawns, and they were able to flip out for those also. So in the first set of rotations, they're already at 172 to 83, so things are definitely going their way. Most of the time, it doesn't continue that way, but so far, all is well. Let's see if they're able to keep it up.
I got you.
Good job, Preston.
I'm flooding
Wait
in.
for me. Wait for me to go top green, and you guys can flit out. Play kills. Play kills again.
Oh, wow.
Fuck, dude.
Gap blast, one in hill. Fucking 8 yards, no fuck. Gap blast.
I'm one shot. More hill on me.
That's dead, one more hill.
You just sound hard to foot. Nado's poured.
One shot behind the van, one shot Yuli, I'm gonna die. Behind the van, one shot Yuli.
Also, one thing I'll point out real quick, because we've seen Formal do this a couple times, that's a really nice route for a main AR, right? So you go top L, you look down over blue van. If you stay in that window, there's not really much you can do on the SMG pushes through that front door. Sure, you can get kills when they're top catwalk, but by him jumping over to that right roof, it allows him to get kills on top catwalk, and for any SMG that's running through that front door from P2 side of the map. So just a little bit of a realignment, and that's a pretty dominant spot for a main AR that we usually don't see very often.
What the I don't know where it's
One
going.
Tools.
Okay.
Tools?
Yeah, and tools.
I'm gonna
Top
die
scout,
then.
top scout.
Tools dead, tools
Gap
dead.
dead.
I'll put you
I don't
first.
see
Nice
tools.
shots.
I don't. Did you kill tools?
No,
Yeah, I did.
no,
I killed
Top
tools, I
AC,
killed tools, I killed
Nado.
tools. I'm holding green right
Now,
now.
top.
One shot.
you.
Dead.
Jump. Wait, Shaq.
One's going their door. One shot their door. Half
Ah,
off.
my
half
bad.
off. Yuli.
There's 2
I
there.
died, bro. Yeah.
One
Let's
shot.
get first.
Sorry, dead,
Three
sorry.
in first.
There's
Three
third first, guys.
I'm backing up, backing up.
I swung graffiti.
That's not bad.
I went low. One's top 2. Top L.
Not a shack. Oh,
Not wall banging him.
Nado's,
I can try to get time.
P1.
Netting bottom out.
Top I see, top I see,
Have a
vivid.
seat. Have a seat.
Vivid's weak, I'm holding green, holding green, holding green.
I have time. I have time. I have time.
Up green, up green, up green, dead.
Nice.
Bottom
I'm
L
gonna go
dead.
mid map. Yo, just hold first. I'm getting
Yeah, they're
mid.
spawning
Getting
first.
bottom
They're
L.
spawning first.
Yeah, one
They're
peeking behind me too.
My top L's open.
I got one mid.
You see, Yuli dead.
spawning
Nice.
first.
Top L. Top L. Top
Back
L.
middle. Back middle. Top L.
McCrate's one shot, McCrate's one shot. Blast.
And again, now that we're inside of P3, I want to make sure that I'm breaking this down as well, because this is a little bit different, right? So right now, Chicago has control of P3. Formal is inside top green or inside top P4, and Chicago is pushing out and they're inside of P1. So how do you get a ton of time inside of P3? basically just by spawn trapping, right? If you can hold LAG to this area right here as they're coming up off of spawns, then they're not even going to have a chance to get anywhere near time inside of P3. And that's what you're seeing right now from the ARs and even the SMGs that are pushed up for Chicago.
Back up. They're all over P1.
Healing me right, gonna be right. Lots of them, right, lots of them. I have your help right,
Coming up
Top
top.
out,
Coming up
Vivid.
top. One more time. It's smoke.
Nading hill.
Naded.
Weak.
Hill's dead. One more out. Up L, last one shot up L. Dead. More bottom L. Bottom L, come out. Yuli's out, bottom L. Sitting right on me.
I got me.
I need great.
Hitting right, Vivid.
Top AC.
He got me, Vivid. Push here. 20 seconds.
Vivid's in fifth, guys. I'm coming new.
Top AC. Wow, good timing.
Maybe green crate.
Try to get more people green.
Hey, go.
Yo, he's already bottom green, guys. He's on
Hill,
top
Hill.
car.
Pushing out, JT.
One's tools.
Oh,
one hill.
He's got cop car.
JT went back in,
I spawned P1.
I did too.
Got me.
Aqua just got me on fold. We just did the same thing.
Plant, weak, Nado.
I choked, bro.
Yeah,
You
so
got
first,
all
we're
week.
good.
Yuli
We're
dead
good.
old.
Good job.
Come back to our side, guys. I went back to our side.
Graffiti one.
Push out, forklift.
Right top.
One's a tools.
He's
one's
tools.
Tools dead.
Good job.
first.
Top green.
Top green hurt.
Alright, you guys wanna break this? Together. Our side or what?
Together, yeah.
Graffiti wall, Yuli.
Top one, our side.
Yeah, I'm
Top
going
green,
on
top
side.
green.
Fighting our side too, hang on.
I'm sliding in for you, Seth.
Yeah, I'm following you up.
Green
Hold
to you,
up.
Alec.
Hill weak. And one's on the third door.
Top dead. One
Yeah,
more.
let's
Let's go hill weak.
Push up.
Go down.
Floating pools.
Stay down.
I'm saying downhill. I think one's top.
So right now, strategy might change a little bit if you're Chicago because there's 30 seconds left. You can win off of this hill, so they're not really that interested in pushing forward, or they're not worrying about it all that much, because if they're able to just get 8 more seconds on this current hill, then they can go ahead and they can win inside of P4. This is a big kill from Formal. He does get killed, but he gets pinched from behind. That's a big 2-piece from Blast. And essentially, that's just going to extend the map. Now, as it's going forward to P5, if you're Chicago, you might be in a little bit of trouble. It's not that hard to just get 1 second. It certainly isn't impossible for LAG to hold here, right? That's definitely in the realm of possibilities. But if you're Chicago, you just have to get 1 break just by 1 player to get through. If you're able to do that, and it looks like it's about to come through. So even though Formal's weak, he just got a kill. He slides through. He's able to get that 1 kill on Saints. And if it goes 1 more, like if they needed 3 seconds instead of just 1 more second, then it might have been a little bit iffier. But since they just needed 1 second, he slid through. He got 1 kill. That 1 more second ticked off the clock, and they're able to get the W. So it wasn't the prettiest thing, but they did a nice job of winning all 5 hard points on this scrim, and I think they looked good overall. Formal with a 36-21. Again, multiple maps in these scrims. He dropped high 30s. Pristini 30-27, which is really good to see. That entry man, if he can drop 30 as that entry man that's going really quickly around the map and being in the enemy's face, that's really good for Chicago. Arcety's +1, Envoy +2, Scump went -2, but that's okay. -2 for a slaying SMG that's always in the midst of things really isn't all that bad. Underneath, Blast led his team in score, but he was 18-24. Vivid was -2. Vivid's been playing really well, especially in Search and Destroy. Aqua -6, Saints -6, Decimate +1, and that's what we ended up with for Hackney Yard between Chicago and the Los Angeles Guerrillas. So if you're new around here, guys, and you enjoy this sort of content, breaking down the Call of Duty League, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I put out brand new videos every single day. Any comments on this one, put them down below. I love the comments. I love the interactions. I love talking with you guys, so make sure you do that. Leave a like before you head on the way. It really helps out the channel. And with that, guys, thank you so much. I will catch you in tomorrow's upload.